Awesome, guys. All right. Well, hi, everybody. I'm here today with Brooks Elms. You know me, I'm Creag Munroe. Brooks Elms is an accomplished screenwriter are you living in Hollywood? Was it, Brooks?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, which I mean, that's kind of what you want from a screenwriter. And Brooks, well, why don't I let you talk about it? Tell me about what it is that you do, how you help writers, and then we'll go a bit into your sort of background and how you came to be where you're at.
great. Yeah, I started making movies with my buddies like in high school, and then I went to NYU Film School, and then I wrote, directed, and produced several independent feature films, and then I pivoted to mostly screenwriting. I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, um, and then I had an opportunity to teach at UCLA Extension. Sort of an academic setting, how I was able to go from like a talented amateur to a professional, but it's sort of an academically, right? There was like a story analysis class that I took and a story development that I taught and the story. So it was sort of, it was fine. But then I was like, well, between my own writing assignments, I really enjoyed helping other writers. So I realized that there was a way to make a really, really big impact on writers that were, again, talented intermediates ready to go professional. And so I came across this one-to-one coaching model. It was like, it's perfect because in addition to writing screenplays, I've also loved personal growth and really helping people just optimize their greatness. And then there's sort of three things that came together. So one, it was a screenwriting part of it where I can teach people to become a professional screenwriter. Two is that personal growth side. I've always been a geek with all sorts of personal growth modalities. And then three is I've always been into competitive athletics. I was a captain of the NYU soccer team, and I've always studied great coaching. So the idea of, how like sports programs have like their elite programs, like, like Duke basketball gets all the best players. So I always liked those sorts of uh, organizations that had sort of elite, attracted elite players and programs that had this sort of dynasty of helping people. In fact, one of the screenplays that I wrote that's getting produced this year, there's a producer on it who's a UFC Hall of Famer, and he has one of the best gyms in the world. And I'm attracted to like greatness and groups of greatness. So all those three things came together with this model where I basically I give myself access. So a writer gets access to me for 5 months, and I take them from talented amateur to like a professional level screenwriter. I mean, depending on where they're at, they're not like they're not like winning Oscars in 5 months, but the majority of people in my program start getting paid writing gigs within a year, really. $1,000 a year, $5,000 a year, or whatever, $10,000, stuff like that, which is a really good. And the truth is if you haven't really worked professionally and you're still kind of working out your screenwriting process, you really don't want to get like staffed on a TV show right away because there's so many levels to this and there's a lot of pressure. So you want to get a rock solid creative process down first and then slowly add more pressure and more pressure and more pressure because Hollywood is filled with people who kind of went too fast, too quickly, and trouble happens. And what I do is I want people to be ridiculously happy and balanced and powerful and not just win one Oscar, but like multiple Oscars, bang, 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 bang. Again, it's a slow road. So the first steps are sort of getting, taking whatever your greatness is and your superpower and then expressing it the way professionals do in the screenplay. And there's three components to it. It's a one-on-one with me for 5 months, and then you get group coaching calls and an online discussion group for life. I mean, it's basically an alternative to like an MFA screenwriting program, but it's expensive, but way less money than those things. Those things are a fortune, and my program is it's pricey, but like it's because I'm getting great results. You get to work with a working WGA writer who raises that game, and I'll save you years of time of sort of figuring out on your own.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, that seems like quite the value. So let me make sure I got this straight. So somebody that is already sort of decent at writing and has some experience, not necessarily in any professional sense or for paid, but they've practiced on their own time. Those are the kind of people that you work with one-on-one, and you take them and you work with them quite diligently over a period of 5 months to really sort of help them change their mindset a little bit to be in the right place, to sort of achieve the things they want to achieve while also working sort of structurally on their actual work, to kind of bring it up to the level that will match their mindset so that they can continue on and achieve going down the road. And then they have access to continue sort of coaching, ask you questions, and a community to sort of really help keep them in the game as they go forward after that. Is that about right?
Yeah, it is. A couple specific additions. So it's a very exclusive program, right? Because I only coach because I'm actively running my own stuff. So I only coach, usually 4, sometimes 5 at a time myself. But if I have more people that are interested at a certain time, I can have the one-on-one process be like if somebody comes in and they're like really funny, I'm funny and I can write. I've written comedies, but I have an associate who's a working writer who wrote for Jay Leno for 20 years. I mean, this guy's elite level comedy, amazing. So another option is if I don't have space with my own 4 or 5, I might introduce them to this other writer. There's 2 or 3 other writers. Sometimes I'll do it that way. But that's the one-on-one component. That there's options, but the point is, I got a little lost, but I'm very selective about who it has to be. Somebody, so it can't be somebody that's like, oh, I want to write my first. If it was somebody, a lot of people actually are writing their first screenplay, but they do have significant experience. Otherwise, so it would have to be there's somebody that's doing great in my program who's a professional copywriter for decades, right? Somebody that was a published writer in other that somebody who's sort of working at a fairly high level in something, you know what I mean? An actor or musician or something. Because if you're really brand new to writing, I can still help you. I mean, if you're like, oh, I like this guy's vibe, I can help you because there's lots of different ways I can help you along the way in terms of, reach out and I'll help you. But for my actual program, it's for people who are either they've written a bunch of screenplays and they're kind of stuck because they can't get it to that next level, or they've somehow accomplished something creatively at a fairly professional level and want to transfer those skills. Because those people I feel like because it's a bit of a pricey program. I want to make sure you're getting your money back as soon as possible. I mean, those MFA programs, yeah, they're if they're saying 120,000 for 2 years or 160 or 200,000. I mean, most people who go through those programs are not making their money back ever. And if you're blessed with money, it's totally fine. Or if you're on scholarship, great. But if you're going to be paying down that debt for decades, which is most of the people that I run into those programs, to me, it's really, I think, overly. I mean, it's a great experience, but and you're talking about a group experience. If you go to my program, you're working with me or somebody I directly vouch with that you connect with even more. So,
having worked in Hollywood and being immersed in this community, do you have any idea, how many people go through those MFA programs and pay all that money and then sort of don't end up working in the industry at all, or working in it for a couple of years and then sort of changing track to something else? Is there a substantial amount of those people?
It's brutal. So I went to NYU Film School and paid a fortune for it, and was blessed to have some inheritance money that covered it. So, although if I were to go back now, I wouldn't do it. Not for the film business. You just don't need it. It's like writing. It's like if you can write,
you do that schooling and then you're on your own. And you sort of have to make your way. Whereas if someone was to work with you, then they're working with somebody who's directly, as a mentor directly in the industry, who knows the ins and outs and has access to you sort of forever. So they can always come back and ask you questions. And am I right in guessing that they kind of leverage a bit of your network as well?
Absolutely. No, that's what I was going to get to. So it's even better. So yes, we do with a lot of mindset stuff because it's always about mindset. It's only us that's blocking us from our next level, right? So that's what the block is. So we deal with it, but we deal with it in a way that's fun and it's easy and fun. The whole approach is very easy and fun and inspired and amazing. And so there's mindset stuff, but the sort of bones of it is you write a new screenplay. You've got, you come up with a bunch of different ideas based on your, I hear about your favorite movies of all time, your favorite TV shows of all time, and I get a sense of where your core sensibility is. What do you care most about? as expressed in sort of these movies that are your favorites. And once I get a feel for that, you pitch some ideas, and then you come up with the best idea. And then I basically show you my 9-step process, and I take you through step by step so that you leave with a professional, durable, proven to work screenwriting system. That's like at the basic level, right? But what always comes up is mindset stuff. Oh, I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. I'm not creative enough, all this stuff, right? And so I am really, really good at sort of showing you how that's okay to have those thoughts, and you're not going to let that block you from your greatness, because me working with you means you're launching, right? And you're in a community of other people that are all launching. Like, we're not effing around about this. So, and then when the project's done, I leverage all my contacts to get it sold, to get everything. I mean, literally, I'm in the business since, the early 90s. So I have like tons of contacts, and I love, you write the script. I'm like, awesome. I'm going to, introduce you to such and such producer, and, and I can't guarantee that they're going to buy it and whatever, but like, I'm thrilled when any of my people, I can make those introductions. I mean, A, I just enjoy it. I love helping people, and it's great. But like B, it all works. It all sort of folds on itself. So I'm in the business. So I'm in the Writers Guild. So I can't take lower level gigs, but people come up to me and they hear about my stuff and they go, oh, can you write it? And I go, no, I can't write it, but I've got these amazing writers. And so I'm able to position them really nicely for, sort of lower level independent writing gigs. And once you do a couple of them and you learn how to be creative at that professional level, then you're really knocking on the door to get staffed on a TV show or sell a script to like a real Hollywood player. And then the money gets substantial. And then to do it consistently. Then how do you deal with mindset in between? Oh, I sold the script now, but it took forever for the contracts to close. And then my next one, it's a feast or famine thing. And I show you how to not drive yourself crazy and just sort of show up, do the work, meet people, get consistent with how you're approaching it as a professional, with all my contacts that I can sort of bring to the table. As for the how many of those people in the MFA programs, so I went to undergrad at NYU, and I know for sure 50% of those people are not in the business. And I could tell even when I was there, they weren't serious. So it was like, there were 50% that were like killers, that were all about it in the way. I mean, before I even got to NYU Film School, I'd made 50 short film experiments. I mean, I was all in from age 15. And there was a bunch of people that were like that. And, lots of people that have made stuff you've heard of. I mean, I'm, in terms of like a 10, like if you put a scale of 10, right? And 10 is like David Mamet or Aaron Sorkin, or basically screenwriters that you've heard of, right? Level 9 is like people that you haven't heard of, but you've heard of what they've written. They've written on something, and it's a show you've heard of or a movie you've heard of. I'm like level 8, which is I'm in the Writers Guild. I've been paid significant money lots of times for work, but nothing's been produced yet other than independent films that I produce myself. So you haven't really heard of anything. And then beyond that is like level 7 might be people that have gotten independent like gigs, but not necessarily like bigger level Hollywood stuff. And then level 6 is probably somebody like you've written 5 scripts, but you haven't done anything with them. And then it goes down to like level 1 is like, you got an idea for a script and you never did anything, right? So that's the continuum. I can help anybody from basically 0 up to 8. I could help somebody 8 or 9, but like, I'm going from 8 to 9 myself. So I have insights about what's there. It's different. I can help people. I help my peers. I end up coaching my peers because I'm a coachy type person. But like, but for sure, I'm like a master at taking somebody from like level 6 to 7 or 5 to 6 or that sort of thing. And the MFA programs, and they're not that. They're just not. They're an academic thing. So they get themselves off the hook with no significant. They don't even try to promise a return on investment. None of that stuff. They don't guarantee shit. They say, you show up, we're going to give you a grade, we're going to give you a diploma, which means 0 in the business. And what happens is those people come to me and it breaks my heart. I'll get somebody will come up to me on like LinkedIn or whatever, like, I just graduated from so-and-so prestigious MFA program. And now what? Now they're facing the real marketplace.
And now they're going to take your course and work with you to actually get the real experience and the real training. So somebody can just bypass that whole waste of years and waste of thousands of dollars.
Well, again, not so much waste, because look, these are good people. I know people that teach those places. They're great. And it's a great program. It's just great if you have the money. it's pretty terrible if you're in debt for decades. That's, again, if you have the money, if you get a scholarship, great options. If you don't have the money, then it's really you're putting yourself in a really difficult financial position, and I don't recommend it. Especially because they're putting you through academic paces, and you write some good screenplays and have some great instructors, but you don't even know which instructors you're getting, and you don't even know if you like those people. You can talk to me for real and go, I like this guy or I don't, and then you know who you're getting, and because I can completely customize it to wherever you are on your unique journey, you're going to get better results than a random sort of obstacle course of good stuff. But like, it's just not dialed in the way this boutique experience is. Plus all my personal contacts, plus my enthusiasm, because I want you to be happy and great and make money and all that stuff. I'm like in your corner, rooting. I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah, your enthusiasm certainly shines through. You can see that. Do you want to share with me maybe one of your students' success stories? So, like, surely.
So, if there's anything from one of my coaching clients, she she had some experience publishing in like nonfiction stuff. She was like a school teacher, but just had a real gift. I could see it. Like, I see gifts in people and I get excited about helping them. And she had a gift, and she tried to write the screenplay, but couldn't, because they get stuck, because they don't know the process, and they get stuck. They wander around the woods, or they might read books, but it doesn't quite make sense. So she went through my course and finished the screenplay and advanced in 6 out of 9 contests. And basically, if anybody's here writing screenplays, if you are just out there in general and you submit to 10 contests, what you're looking for is advancing in at least 4. If you 3, 4, and then you're probably getting close to that professional level. If it's above that, it's not about winning or whatever. It's just because you're just talking about a pool of industry readers, and they're randomly going, okay, these are the ones that are sort of not like the ones that are out to lunch that are real beginners. These are people that are sort of good enough. And if you're getting at least 4 out of 10, that to me suggests that you're pretty far along the line. Again, she got 6 out of 9. So I mean, to me, and on her very first screenplay, here's another statistic. Two of my clients happened to happen like weirdly in the same like week or two. They wrote this screenplay in this program, and I don't know, early draft, not even like really polished draft, but like early draft after 5 months or so in the program, 4 months. Both sent it out to like Hollywood readers, and the Hollywood readers were like, oh, what's this? Like the 6th or 7th screenplay that you've written? And it was the first one that each of them wrote. And if you are listening to this and you're going to write 6 screenplays, and you're talking about 4 years minimum, 5 years, 6 years, maybe longer. Some people spend a decade trying to write one screenplay. So I gave them the equivalent experience of, on their first screenplay, basically, I almost saved them 5 years and 5 months. I mean, and it makes sense, right? Because I'm a professional. I've written 35 screenplays. I know it backwards and forwards. I can give them the exact information at the exact right time. And most importantly, because of that personal growth side, we're not doing bullshit heady stuff, right? I'm letting them drop deep. And that means if they want to do a blockbuster, I'll show them how to have the stones to do a blockbuster by dropping in deep. If they want to do heavy drama, I'll show them how to access that part of themselves. So, and that's the part, and even for your writers writing fiction, it's like, it works when people are working at a deeper level, even if it's, broader material or comedy or whatever, but you have to be able to you have to have an emotional IQ that goes really deep. And it's hard to get that if you're not in some sort of human rapport sort of situation. So what I do is I create a situation where they feel really safe to go deep and to tell stories from that place. And that's what's making it stand out when, in a very short period of time. They get in the habit of taking the craft very seriously in the way, but playfully and having fun, but the way professionals do. And I show them just how to get those results. So other people include writing assignments. There's one guy got a writing assignment like, month 2 in the program. I just have these people coming to me going, oh, I want to write, I have this thing, I want to write a script. And again, this isn't Netflix coming to me. This is, they my own stuff. I have those meetings and stuff, but the people go through my program aren't like directly getting Netflix type gigs. what they're getting is an independent producer, somebody who's written this memoir that wants to make it a screenplay, somebody who is whatever, but they've got $10,000 or whatever, and they can hire an up and coming writer. Those gigs happen all the time. The majority of the people in my program, it's only been around for 18 months, and the majority have already gotten either offers for gigs like that. There's like 2 or 3 people that are turning down gigs. Like, I got another lead for something today. Oh, we need such and such, and I'm like, I can't go to him. He's too busy doing stuff. So, I mean, it works, right? Because of the way I approach it, and I've been doing it for a long time, and I can get them to focus their creative energy on a way that really is optimal, minimal. So they don't, in minimal sort of streamlined process, they don't worry about the BS. They stay focused on what matters, and they're able to go really far, really quickly.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. What I was wondering, what's the sort of typical time commitment? Because I know you said that they work with you sort of one-on-one for 5 months, but are we talking about sort of an hour a week that you get on a call and sort of hash it out with them, or and how much time do they have to spend outside of your meetings? Are you looking at somebody to take this program and then, just like an MFA or something, that's their full-time gig, mostly maybe work a weekend job, or is this something somebody could do with an hour or two a day around their own work?
Yeah. So the answer is kind of all of it, right? The reality of being, even writing at a professional screenwriter level, is it's part-time work. You might get hired to write a gig, or if you're hired for a TV show, that tends to be full-time ish. I mean, I have a friend that works all the time on TV shows, and even that is, I mean, again, if they have a writer's room, we have to break some. There'll be stretches of time when everything blocks out and you're doing nothing but writing or hitting a deadline or something. But most times for most writers, at least on one project, is part-time. So I know a guy that made The Blacklist, a good friend of mine. The Blacklist is sort of like the most popular screenplays in Hollywood. They're almost like the Oscars for screenwriters. That guy made The Blacklist writing like a half hour at lunch at his insurance job. A half hour at lunch. Yeah. And then maybe at night he would, if he had the energy, he would write another half hour, and then maybe a couple hours on the weekends. So you absolutely can write around other jobs. And what happens with professionals is the people that get up to that higher level, even on one project, again, they might be doing one at a time, but they'll just kind of stack a couple. So people that are like doing nothing but writing full time as screenwriters, they'll probably have 3 or 4 projects they're kind of doing at the same time. But like, that's part of the amazing part of it, is you can really, and what I encourage people to do is to fully maximize their process as screenwriters, but also what they're doing in and out of the business. Because like, there's a person in my group who her day job's working at NASA, and like for her, I don't think she's happier like walking away from that NASA job and just writing screenplays and on some TV show or whatever, right? To me, it's both. It's like she can maybe be a consultant for NASA or do whatever, but like that should be part of her life for her happiest, way of being. And so that's what I suggest. So in terms of like time commitment, I mean, you need time. You need to be able to write, but like, and then how much in terms of what I give, I'm here as much as you need to be. I mean, I've got other stuff going on, but you don't need me 5 hours a day. You don't. You need me basically like an hour to go over where you're at. And then I go, okay, got it. We talk, we go deep. And then I go, okay, work on these 5 things, A, B, C, D, and you go. And then you just start writing. And again, you do it, whatever your schedule is. And you might email me the next day and go, I have a question on such and such, or DM me or whatever. I'm accessible because I want you moving as fast as humanly possible without rushing. You know what I mean? So there's some people that are doing nothing but this, and there's some people that, have, pretty intensive jobs. It doesn't matter. That's an excuse that people use, but they shouldn't. I mean, if you're ready to make this change in your life, I can help. The other thing that's a significant factor is we do these group coaching calls. So we do 6 a month right now. And so I might work with you on a Monday and go, okay, here's what you need to work on, bum, bum, bum. And then Wednesday night at the group call, you jump in and you go, you know what? I got like 1 and 2 done, but I was kind of confused about that third thing. So we talk about it and make teaching points for everybody that's on the call. Usually the groups are, 10 people, something like that. And then you get to see the other people, me coaching them as well, and where you get to see their stories developed, how they're dealing with the whole process. So you get that group experience, which is really important. But it's driven mostly by the one-to-one thing. And then you get that group experience, those group calls for life. So it's like, again, once you're in my program, I am going to bat for you for like the rest of your life. I want you to be like ridiculously successful consistently forever.
That's what any student would want. If all of our high school teachers acted like that, we'd all be set. You'd only take a very limited amount of students, as you mentioned. So what are you looking for? Because obviously you probably have more people that want to work with you than you can accept if you want to give them this huge level of service that you provide. So in order for somebody to be accepted to work with you, you want to make sure you're compatible. So what is it that you're looking for when you speak with someone?
Yeah. So the one part is like where they are in the journey. It's like, again, it's if somebody's already written 5, 10 screenplays, but they're kind of stuck, that's somebody that's a pretty easy fit in terms of at least that part of things. If somebody is, again, accomplished in something else, like we have one guy who's a deacon at a church. He's a successful entrepreneur. He writes proposals and stuff for this other business. But what really struck me about him was he's a deacon, so he would do these sermons. We're not, I don't know what they call them, but like he would basically tell stories at his church for people, and he'd been doing it for years. And I go, I can make this guy a screenwriter for sure, because he is, that idea of 10,000 hours, right? To me, it's totally true, but you don't necessarily need. And what I'm doing is I'm taking somebody who has, 9,000 hours ish. And I'm sort of accelerating that last 1,000 hours and getting into that sort of real elite professional level. So you got to have 9,000-ish in something. It could be writing fiction. It could be acting. It could be musician, but it has to be fairly sustained focus. But like if they're even in your program and they've been writing fiction at least for, 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, or reading tons of stuff. Like there's another guy who, man, I'm telling you, he's mid 40s or something. And, never really written anything, but massive movie buff, knows Marvel stuff backwards and forwards. And his story instincts are so damn good. So he didn't realize, but he actually had the 10,000 hours, mostly in terms of what a deep sort of film IQ that he has. And so I can take that and go, okay, here's your superpower, and here's the boxes that you can fill, and it comes together that way. So you need 9,000-ish hours in the game, but not necessarily writing screenplays. And then I can take you that level. So that's number one. Number two, I have to have a real connection with you. I mean, I go deep. And so of the 35 screenplays that I've written, 2/3 have been co-written. So it's almost like a very in-depth like creative producer type relationship or co-writer relationship. They're doing all the work. They own the rights. They own everything. I'm just like the coach in their corner. But like, if I don't love something about their superpower and them creatively, they're not the best match for me. So I can't do it. I'm just not interested. So it's people that I really have a strong creative connection with. Like I said, there's two other working writers that I can, like, if I feel like I'm good, but they're better, I go, well, meet this person. And if that works, then they do the one-to-one with the other person. And then they get the whole other program from me. So they get a little of both, which is kind of, yeah. And then there's some people that are like, you know what? They're not quite right for my program, but I feel like they're taking the craft seriously. And then I can refer them to another guy. There's a great guy in Australia who's amazing. And he has kind of his own thing. So it's like, again, I want you with the best person for you. And for, again, I only will coach 4 or 5 at a time for like 5 months, and then another 4 or 5, and that's it. So my sort of slots fill up pretty quickly. And then if I'm full, then I've got maybe those other people. But then if all of us full, then we're just done, and then you can maybe be on the wait list for the next time. But it's sort of so there's got to be a personal connection. I have to be really excited, and I have to feel like they're ready to take ownership, right? Because again, it's always us blocking ourselves. to the next level. It's always the inside job. And so if you're at a point like there was one guy who I thought had the talent and was really good fit, but I could see it wasn't quite ready. He kind of was, he wanted to put the responsibility a little outside of himself, and I was ready to commit to him, but I could see he wasn't quite ready to take that ownership, So that's someone who's not there. You have to be like, look, I've been wanting to do this for my whole life, and I want to do it, and I feel like I'm really ready to make this change. In terms of, I'll change whatever habits I need to become a professional screenwriter. If you come to me with that attitude, I can help you for sure. If you don't, then then you should be doing something else, read books or figure it out yourself on YouTube or whatever, till you get to the point where you're like, because what happens is we don't know what we don't know, right? So somebody, and this is coming from personal experience. When I was 22, at the summer after I left NYU Film School, I made a feature film. And had I had a coach at that point, the advice I needed was to say, dude, don't do a feature, just do shorts and get quality over quantity. So I rushed into a feature, and the problem is that it was a good enough feature for a 22-year-old, but I didn't really get a good feedback loop until 2 or 3 years later, because everything just moves so slowly. Had I made a short and just took that directly to Hollywood, I probably would have become a professional in my mid-20s as opposed to my mid-30s. So that's the sort of thing that I can give to a writer. I can go, look, if you got this, first of all, here's the choice that you're looking at, because people don't even realize they're even looking at a choice. And I'll go, look, in my experience, in my own life, and in the hundreds of people that I've worked with, if you go here, you're probably looking at these outcomes. If you go there, you're probably looking at those outcomes. And that simple thing happens on every single call and literally can save them months, if not years, just because I've gone the long way only to realize, God damn it, there was a shortcut. I could have taken. So I love it when I go, hey, by the way, and again, they're in control. It's your life, your power. I'm just showing you that, look, you can go the long way if you want. And if you want, you can go the shortcut. And you see their eyes go, oh, there's a shortcut, and then all of a sudden they take it, and I'm like, yeah. And that's how you get those results, is because I'm just showing them the shortcuts, and then and the industry can't tell the difference if they went all the way around and figured it out themselves.
They're only looking at the finished product. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Great. If you said you've coached something like you've had about 18 or so students come through this program in the last, or
in the current program is now up to 15. There's a small handful of people that predated this program, because I was teaching at UCLA Extension, and I started doing, some hourlies. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is fun, but I wanted something bigger and deeper. And that's when I kind of came up with this. So some of those people got kind of grandfathered into the community.
So if we could ask those 15 students of yours to agree upon the most rewarding part of your program, in their opinion, what do you think they'd say? It's a good
it's a great question. I think that there's, what it is, I think the deepest problem for all of us at every level, and this goes from again, the legends that are at level 10 or professional like me at level 8 or whatever, it's addressing imposter syndrome. It really is, because no matter how accomplished you are, no matter all the awards you have, box office, this, that most people on some level, in some degree or another, feel like they're a fraud and they're going to be figured out and they're not the real deal. And when you spend 5 months with me telling you you're absolutely the real deal, and I promise you are, and then you kind of believe it, then you don't, and then you believe it again, then you don't, and you're in this group of people that all are fully committed to just living the best life they can, telling stories the best way they can, it seeped in. And so you still will have those imposter syndrome thoughts, but they're just quieter. They're not as distracting, and God forbid they don't make you quit or anything ridiculous like that. It's just you're able to sort of manage the anxiety and the frustrations at a much, much higher level. And again, my friend, this is the difference between somebody winning one Oscar or multiple Oscars, right? And again, I haven't won any, so I'm sort of talking out of my, out of my ears, but it's the same principles. In fact, I did some work for this nonprofit group that was helping writers that were older and that had been discriminated against because of age in Hollywood. And what was so fascinating, these are people that were already showrunners. These are people that were, have written showrunners on shows and movies you've heard of, and they're not getting as much work. And what happened as I started, running some programs for that organization is it was the same thing. That the problems they had was the same things that people breaking into the business had. They're blocking themselves or sabotaging themselves for some reason. They don't think they deserve it, or there's an entitlement. Like when people are already sort of, has sort of faded a little bit, they'll think, oh, well, I can't do that. But what they're not doing is energetically putting themselves in a place to succeed and sustain that success. And it was clear as day for people that had already had very significant careers professionally and people that are breaking in. They're just the ones that have done it already professionally. What they need to do is step into what got them there. Because what happens is that they get there and they get a little either jaded or whatever, and then they think they're sort of entitled or whatever, and they have changed and they don't realize they've changed. So whether you're breaking in or you're in it or you've kind of, over the hill, it's all the same thing. You have to show up as your best self, create from your superpower, put yourself out there and meet people who are looking for your thing, and you will get work. And you will get the inspired work that you were on the planet to do. So I would say, to sort of summarize that very long one, it's sort of confidence and belief in yourself, mojo. That's what you get from being a part of it.
That's great. That's fantastic. And I was going to ask the same sort of question, but what do they find most challenging about your program? But I have an idea. It's sort of almost the same answer, is, getting into that mindset and kind of coming up with the
well, because here's the thing, as good as it is, we're human beings. We're not gonna there's no magic pill. There's no you're still gonna deal with problems. There's nothing anybody can do. And the game is to actually kind of almost enjoy it. It's kind of like you get to a point where it's like, oh yeah, I know that voice that tells me I don't deserve it, or I'm not good enough, or whatever. And then you get into a place where it's a very sort of gentle, almost tender conversation with yourself about your doubts, so that you hear it, but you kind of let it go and you move forward. So what happens with people in my group, and even in like the 18 months of group calls we've done, you just see, it's so beautiful, because you just see this subtle energetic shift where it's always been fun and there's a lot of enthusiasm and really talented, open-hearted people, but like the sophistication of the creative professionalism is just, it's off the charts. And what I predict, again, 18 months, and some of these people are writing their first scripts. What we're seeing is seeds just barely breaking through the surface, and there's little saplings. But what's going to happen probably in the next year, if not two, is you're going to start seeing the bamboo shoot from the side. You're going to see somebody get staffed on a TV show, somebody sell a feature, things get produced, and all of a sudden there's going to be much higher level, sort of more visible success. I mean, I gave you some tangible things that are happening within the industry, but those things lead to those other successes. And again, to my mind, that's not like the end. It's a marathon. The job is just to keep running, to win again, one Oscar and then another Oscar and another Oscar. And it's just because you're absolutely maximizing your potential, because that's the real fun of it. It's not all the BS about, it's not all that stuff. It's how you show up as a human being, as a professional creative. And that's durable, and you get that for life. And if you attract the right people to work with, and you're living this dream life, working with dream people, that's it. And then the paradox is, when you don't give a crap about other stuff and awards, that's when that stuff comes easier and flowing, and more money and more stuff. I've got 4 projects of my own cooking right now, which is more active than I've ever been in my life. And it's because I'm in this energy of helping these other writers. When I was only focused on my own stuff, I was kind of like white knuckling it, and it was freaking out. But now it's like, I don't care. I'm not emotionally attached to any outcome. I just show up and I do great work on my own work. And then, and different people then are attracted to me and hire me, pay me a lot of money. And then I have more time and more ease in my schedule to help other people, for them to fulfill their own lives.
That's great. Yeah. Fantastic. And I mean, I think we pretty much got a comprehensive idea of what it is you do and how you help people. But is there anything else that you want to speak to sort of before we wrap it up?
Um, yeah, the last thing I'll say is whatever anybody listening to this, whatever you're going to do, whether you're interested in my program or not, just identify what those blocks are. Keep that big dream of yours in mind and go for it steadily, step by step. You are here for a sense of purpose, for something that's bigger than you. And if you're part of your community, you're telling stories, and we tell the best stories when we've learned some sort of life lesson that we can pass along to somebody else. So figure out what that is for you. Find whatever your way is at whatever your budget is to be able to be around people that can help you do more of that, so you can serve more people. It's this continuum of finding your purpose, finding your bliss, and then passing it through and serving people at the highest, most impactful way possible. Whether that's my program or anything else, I really hope people take away something, and it up level some of their ideas about their own power and what's possible for them in this life.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's some great quotes in there, I think. So if anybody in our community here, or anybody that ends up seeing this video, wants to get in touch with you, ask you some questions, or even possibly, apply to your program, how would they go about getting in contact with you or finding out more information?
The best thing is sort of the shortcut is to email you, and then you can just forward the email to me, because then because it's you can search me, you can Google me. There's tons of videos and interviews that I've done, but you can do that and then go through you, because if I hear about people other ways, and you have to sort of apply for the program or whatever. It's more casual if you're like, hey, this person's from my community, they like the video, and then we can just have a conversation. And I promise you, I'll be able to help. If you're too early on in the path, I'll still be able to help you in this way, that way, or the other. I can, I talk to writers all the time. So I know how to help them in pretty much any situation. And then, a fraction of that are perfect matches for my program. But I help, there's lots of other people I can help.
That's great. So if anybody seeing this wants to get in touch with Brooks and find out some more information, or have a valuable chat and get some of his insight, reach out to me. You can use Creag at elegantliterature.com, or even hello at elegantliterature.com. It'll make its way to me, and I can make the introduction for you. So that's great. And I think that's everything from me, Brooks. It was fantastic talking to you today. It was great to learn more about your program. And really just get an idea of how you help people. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of fun.